All right,
The great debate.
It's 6:30. We can call this meeting to order, November 6th, Conservation Commission. You folks are all here for advisory statutory business. No one's here for public comment, I'm assuming, right? No? Okay. And we don't have any appointments, so no public hearings. So VHB, I guess you guys are up first. If you could please just sign in. And, right in front of the screen's fine.
Or you can get closer if you want, it's up to you.
That camera right there is going to be picking it up.
Yeah, it's just like, just turn that microphone over to him.
Should I speak in the microphone?
Yep.
Yeah, we can try.
I'll get you.
Yeah, you can
Talk.
move to stand closer if you want.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Mark Verostic. I'm an engineer with VHB. I'm here tonight with Sherry Treffer. She's the director of our environmental services, and the applicant, Tom Monahan and Jeff Monahan. Project that we're submitting a wetland application for is a proposed roundabout at the entrance to an out parcel that's
Oh, hey, Jackie.
slated for development. This is off of Premium Outlets Boulevard, Industrial Drive. It's right here. Comes in. Currently, today, there's a left turn lane that comes off of Premium Outlets Boulevard into this vacant site. And for the proposed mixed-use development, we're proposing this traffic circle to facilitate traffic both in and out of the Premium Outlets existing project as well as the mixed-use development. And as a result of the roundabout construction, the proposed fill, there's an existing wetland system here that the embankment fill will impact 1,600 square feet. And the largest piece of that, there's an existing storm drain outlet right here that will be relocated at the toe of the embankment. So that's that piece of the wetland impact is related to the storm drainage adjust.
Was that storm drain in prior to the mall development, or was that part of the outlet development originally?
I believe that storm drain was in as part of the Merrimack Premium Outlets. It was constructed at that time. We had looked at alternatives of trying to move the roundabout out of to minimize and reduce the impacts. Moving it off center from the existing roadway would actually create, further reconstruction of Premium Outlets Boulevard, and would actually potentially create additional impacts further upstream. There's a storm drain inlet here, so it'd be further reconstruction of the existing road, and it didn't, completely avoid the wetland impacts. So that was the part of the reason for the location that was selected. So the total impact, as you can see, is from the application 1,600 square feet. We've requested a minimum impact expedited review, so we've come to Conservation Commission prior to submitting an application with DES. brief summary of what the proposed work entails. Happy to answer any questions that the commission has.
So this continues on, the new road now continues on and meets back up with Continental Boulevard?
This road here, there's an emergency access that connects today to Continental. Well, it's at the Camp Sargent Road
Right.
at Continental. But that's a gated access.
Is that going to continue to stay?
Will stay gated.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So
Yep.
it's not going to be an
That's
access point.
correct. Yeah, that will not be access. In fact, that's the reason for this, because there won't be a secondary access, and because this is the primary access for both the out parcel and the existing mall, this will help, facilitate traffic flow in and out of onto Industrial Drive.
So the impact areas, I saw pictures, I think you have it in the wetland permit, I believe you have pictures and things
Right.
like that. So we're not talking about disturbing any endangered species. We're not talking about disturbing a river or anything like that.
Correct.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Right. Right. I mean, it's a fairly isolated wetland. I mean, what you see highlighted in green here is the extent of the wetland, and the outlet does discharge through this. This is a pre-existing stormwater pond that I'm not sure the full history of it, but there's an outlet control structure here that discharges stormwater to the larger wetland system across Industrial Drive. So there isn't. It's not connected to a river or directly connected to a larger wetland system.
So can you show us the existing condition on using that diagram there? Where's the existing roadway now?
Sure. So the existing roadway, I mean, we tie back in here. The
Yeah.
existing roadway comes through here,
Right, okay.
roughly, and then same thing on this side. This is the existing entrance.
Yep, all right.
So it's just the traffic circle itself, because it's a two-lane.
Mhm.
It's a fairly large diameter. That's pushes it out as far as it is.
And we have to keep that diameter for emergency vehicles in the 2 lanes and
Right. Both, yeah. So we've looked at it for truck traffic as well as emergency vehicles being able to get in and out of the out parcel, as well as truck traffic being able to get up and down to the existing mall. I think a single lane roundabout wouldn't be able to handle the flow, the traffic flow.
So what is the embankment material now in the existing condition? Is it mostly a riprap type material as well?
No, it's vegetated.
Yeah.
There's existing concrete curb, and then there's it doesn't show it on here, but there's an existing guardrail, and then there's a slope down to the toe of the fill, and it's vegetated, and the proposed condition will be vegetated with the exception of this outfall. There is riprap erosion control at the outlet to the existing pipe,
Okay.
and so basically that whole component gets moved, further down.
Yeah, because driving by now, you can't really see down in there.
Right.
Unless you
Yeah.
get out of your car and
That's
then,
right.
and then you put yourself at risk.
Right. Right.
Got to get to the mall.
Right. Yes. Especially on that curve, because people
Yep.
are coming around blind.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, it was pretty, wasn't really a whole lot to look at,
Yeah.
seemingly.
So did you do a look for, what's the right word for it? The bad species.
Invasive.
Invasive species?
I have not. I have not.
Is
I
that
was-
something you plan to do before construction, is to look for invasive species and properly handle them, as opposed to introducing them into other places?
it wasn't shown on this plan. We are doing a stormwater management design for the out parcel itself, and that will go through an alteration of terrain permit process, and I know that's a typical condition, and we include notes about removal of invasive species within the project limit. I was out there last week. I'm not a wetland scientist. I know certain species when I see them, but I didn't see anything when I was out there. But that doesn't mean that anything, nothing's there. I don't, we could certainly.
This is all still pretty new, though. This whole,
I know.
yeah.
Right.
Just we know some species travel on snowplows. A piece of them gets chomped up. They get part of it, and they move around. Nothing personal down over there, but
She's ignoring us, don't worry.
but so that just.
Sure. I mean, certainly within the project limits, we can require the contractor to remove any.
To do an inspection and removal, yeah.
Right.
Following best management practice.
Right. Yep.
Is there going to be mitigation for this project? The
There's-
wetlands impact?
There's not any mitigation proposed.
Yeah, it doesn't come close to the square footage.
Yeah, it's pretty small. So this was a large packet to review, and I know I tried to get through most of it, but trying to get through all that stuff on the computer is it's challenging. But I didn't really see any kind of green plan at all as to trying to in the vegetation what you're going to put back in place. Is this going to naturally vegetate, or is there going to be a?
No, this slope. So the slope would be loamed and seeded. So it would be a no mow. I think we usually use the New England conservation mix for a
Mhm.
no mow mix, to prevent invasive species. So that's what we would intend here because it's not really a maintainable slope, so you can't get down there and mow it with
Right.
typical lawn type planting. So that's what we're proposing as a no mow mix, conservation mix.
So we have a standard, as the Conservation Commission itself, we have a standard verbiage about the types of soil, what we do for fertilizer, and that's certainly going into a wetlands like that, there'd be a no phosphate, then a slow release nitrogen for any kind of fertilization that you'd need, and obviously even on the get-go, if you want to test the soil first, you may be able to save yourself money without having to put fertilizer down at all, because it may be just fine the way it is.
Right.
So
Okay. So you say you have a standard.
yeah,
verbiage
for going into obviously that's going to be a steep slope right into the wetlands, so that's a no phosphates and a slow release or a low and slow release nitrogen compound.
Okay.
People like phosphates because they help the greenery green up really quick. But
Right.
you're not looking to put a lawn in here, so
Right.
probably shouldn't need any of it.
Right. Yeah. The only other thing we're showing, just because it is a steep, it's a 2-to-1 embankment, we're showing a temporary erosion control blanket
Yeah.
on the slope just to protect it during construction until vegetation's established.
Yeah, we didn't see any mention of hay bales or anything like that.
Right.
So
We have silt socks at the toe of the construction as a temporary measure, so the compost-filled mulch tubes
okay.
is what we're proposing for perimeter controls.
You did find hay in there somewhere?
Yeah, there's hay in C2. The middle notes, note 1. After a binder course is placed and hay bales have been removed. So, so we want straw, right?
Yeah, we prefer no hay because it
Sure.
introduces seeds into, especially into the
Sure.
wetland.
No, I've gone through that before, and we have details that are sometimes the word hay gets.
It's
you know,
boilerplate. You just
right.
plug them in and
Right.
it becomes a drawing. I understand.
Find replace.
We can do that easily enough. So I had dropped off 4 hard copies with the planning department.
Yep.
And what's the typical process those would get?
So I think we just have to sign one. We don't have to sign all 4, right?
Yeah.
And then it would get signed by the town clerk also.
Yeah, usually more than one. They used to require submittal of 5 plans. I'm not sure what the
Okay.
current rule is. Do you?
No, I don't.
I thought the DES requirement was 4. I thought
It
that.
might,
So previously, we would submit 5.
Could you-
Turn up,
yeah, you
sorry,
gotta-
for a minute. Previously, we would submit 5 at all to the town clerk, and then we would take one, or they would send one to DES,
Yeah.
and the 4 copies would remain with the town.
right.
So the town should still get 4 copies, and then if you sign for the Conservation Commission, we'll have the town clerk sign, and then take that one with us, because we have to deliver it to DES. So those 4 copies should be distributed for the town to
Right.
put as part of their records.
So I can bring another copy down.
Okay.
So that the town has the 4th copy if we end up taking one of them back with us.
There's like 3 over there.
Have you had a chance to go through the permit?
Not the whole thing. I've been
Right.
through a lot of it, but it's not the. But I can get over there and sign it tomorrow.
It's pretty full.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got all the right data there. So,
It's the same. It was a thick
yeah.
package.
That's why I brought the tablet in case we wanted to,
Right.
because we don't have it in hard copy, but you've got it there. So normally, we as a commission authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the commission.
Okay.
And the chair does that, and then you're on your way.
Okay.
So I move we authorize Chairman Perry to sign on behalf of the commission the expedited wetlands permit.
Second.
Comments? All those in favor? All right. Passes 7-0-0.
So did you want a signed copy now?
Sure.
I think they're over there.
Do you want me to?
Listen.
So this, I guess this would technically be the 5th copy. I can, if you want to sign this one, or you can sign one of the ones that are there, and I could leave this one. What do you want to do? Do you want me to just leave the 5th one? So you've got all.
It's probably easier.
Yep.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to encourage you to also let DES know about our 2 comments, related to an invasives check.
Yep.
And use of fertilizer.
Yep.
So, because this will be our only chance to comment, so.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate your patience waiting an extra week like that. So.
Thank you.
The squeaky chair.
Oh. Catch me fidgeting?
I also stole your microphone. Still your microphone.
Oh, that's okay.
All right, Don, I think you're up.
Please need an extra hand.
Everyone's gonna
Which one
clap?
would you like to hear first?
Let's go, hoping one of us is gonna clap. Be a real smart ass on that one.
We have to look professional.
Yeah. Yeah, you could be nice to her.
I have 3 different projects tonight. I've been saving them up. Let's do the, probably the more difficult one first.
Orange Blossom Estates. We don't have that, do we?
What?
Do we have that?
No.
You should have plenty.
No, okay. Got it now.
You will be receiving, if you have not already, a certified letter regarding Bedford Road. And you're receiving that because you have a conservation easement on the same piece of land we're trying to put the new bridge on. So, what happened was back in 1980, this subdivision plan was done, and it was Orange Blossoms Estates. And you will note that in the area that I've shown on red, there was a construction easement for a new road, because at the time they were still using Dara Bridge, which is right here crossing Babusick Brook. So in 1984, the new road actually got constructed, and the large metal CMP pipe was installed, which is now failing. So now we need to install a new bridge. We're getting federal monies for this. And in order to get the federal monies, we have to have clean title. So back after they constructed the road in 1984, the town attorneys decided nothing more needed to be done. So it has remained in a construction easement ever since. So the state DOT several months ago said, you shall quiet this title, basically, by petitioning for the layout of the road. So what we are asking for, since we're going to be constructing the new road in approximately the same location, we're flattening out the curve just a little bit. We're basically asking for the road, for that construction easement to be turned into a permanent easement. So we won't physically own the land. It won't be taken away from what's now called Bramber Estates. In order to do this petition, it had to be signed, and that's the first piece of paper on your packet. The second one shows the 1980s plan with the area that we have used for the new road. The third piece is your conservation easement, which was given to the town of Merrimack, and this did happen in 1983. So there are certain items within there, and it covers some part, or I don't think it's all of this construction easement, but it is up in that area. So that's why you also had to be noticed, because you have an interest in this property. So in addition to you, I had to notify, since this is all open space, all 49 owners and all of their lien holders. So this was an exercise in title search also. So after 100+ certified mailings went out, this is the point that we're at. But I wanted you to not just to get this certified letter and not know why it is we were having to do this. So this has been mandated basically by the state. And this is, then the last piece here is the new plan, which is just a sketch plan. We're not going to file a new plan in the registry. We're just going to file the petition so that it clearly defines that it's now become a permanent easement. And that's what all of this is about. So there's no real taking because we already have it, and the public has the right to still use it and will continue to do so. Comments, questions?
Well, we've already seen this whole project anyway. You were before us a while back.
Yes. But this is a new twist to this project.
Yeah. Gotcha. So do we need to have someone sign the easement?
No.
Okay, I didn't think
No,
so.
this would be put before town council on December 7th. And that will be a public hearing. And the town councilors are the ones that actually will sign what's called the return of layout. And they will be the ones to make it official, then it has to go to the town clerk, and then it goes to the registry of deeds. So there is a step-by-step process that I'm having to follow to make sure we hit all of the steps this time.
Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, thank you, Doug.
I didn't want you surprised. That's not a nice surprise to have. Okay, shall we go on to my second project here?
So much paper.
What did I do? My little...
No,
That one,
that's,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's, I have that.
So, the second issue that I have before you tonight is the Amherst Road culvert. So if you remember back in June, we received an emergency permit from DES to be able to replace the culvert that is underneath Amherst Road right near Continental Boulevard. So I have the locus map is your first sheet here. The second sheet that I have provided you is the emergency permit. And if you read through this whole permit, it does not say that I need to file a wetlands permit. After I was all done and went back to DES and showed them all the pictures and all of the stuff for this project, they said, oh, by the way, you do have to file a permit. I cannot file an expedited, however. This is under 1,000 square feet. We've got basically 710 square feet of impact. What we did is we extended the culvert a little bit on both sides to be able to lessen the slope from the road, because I don't know if you ever tried to walk that, but it was almost vertically.
Yeah.
So we did extend it a little bit. So we went from a 36-inch failing metal culvert, again, to a concrete culvert that's a 5-foot diameter. One thing that's required when you do an emergency permit is that you have to be able to pass a 100-year storm through there. So we had to increase the size to be able to accomplish that, even though we've got plenty of storage, you know, because the side slopes all the way back up to Green's Pond are fairly steep in most of that area. So there's a lot of storage area in there. Plus we have Green's Pond and we have Natticook Brook. I started this permit a couple of weeks ago, but I got taken off of it to do Bedford Road mailings because it became time-wise more important to do that. So I haven't quite finished with the actual permit. It's not required to have Conservation Commission signature, but I certainly would like to have signature if that is possible when I get this all put together again. It will still be a minimum impact, but it's not going to be an expedited. So the second sheet, or the third sheet in here, is actually the plan that I will be, one, preparing for the registry, because we will need to obtain some easements from the landowners, because the original culvert went past the right-of-way, and the new one goes past the right-of-way. So we want to make sure that it's clear and that we have the right to be able to go down to maintain them and to check them out and that type of thing. So this is also going to be the plan that I'll use to send up to the state for that. And I did provide some photos that I have already given to the state. The first ones were the befores. This is on the inlet side. The inlet was so broken we had to actually sandbag it because the inlet was in the rocks in here, but there were so many holes in the pipe that it was coming in and out throughout the pipe. So we tried to sandbag around it just to hold it together for long enough before we could be able to replace it. And then we had an inspector who tried to get a camera down through it to see what was going on, and we failed at that because it had already had its problems. And then the after construction was on the second sheet, and that's the inlet side. So we've got there was no head wall before, we've got a nice head wall now, and the culvert, and the drainage coming from the road, there's a catch basin, and it just outletted in the middle of the slope, and it was eroding the slope away, so we fixed that issue also as we were going through. So you see the riprap on the side. The third sheet of pictures shows in April, when we went out and first discovered this, you could see the whole side of the slope was slumping. When I went back in May, or a couple weeks later, you could see this whole top side was basically coming down. So it was enlarging. Every storm we were getting, it was getting larger and closer to the road. We came within 1.5 feet of that road. And we were watching one day when we actually shut the road so quickly, we were watching the pavement, and it was actually bellowing as people were driving over it because the sinkholes through there. So that is why it got closed immediately. And the last sheet shows the new outlet with a new head wall, and we also have it's a culvert coming from the catch basin up on the road, and that's also now rip-wrapped slope. And then a picture from the top looking down. So we've maintained. This is before all the vegetation came in, because I took these right after. So these are, I should probably go out and take new ones to have it nice and green, but I haven't done that. So
This is actually good. You can really see what was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for getting it.
Yeah, thank you for getting the road open 2 days before I put my house on the market. I had to drive right through there because I live right near there. I lived right near there, I should say.
I understand. It was a very long time for anybody living right near there. Although the people that were right next door were great. They were like, "Oh, this is wonderful. We have no traffic." And so they were enjoying the quiet for a change. So, yes. So I don't know whether you're interested. You possibly would sign the application when I got it all pulled together. I'm close, but I'm not quite done that.
I don't.
So technically, we only sign if it's expedited.
Okay, that's fine.
Usually on a normal process, then it gets submitted and we have so many days to provide comment or to ask for it to be held up so we can look at it more. I mean, Gage can easily email Eben and tell him that we've reviewed it with you and that we have no concerns or considerations, and then he'll take that as a mental check mark that the commission's seen it.
Okay.
So at least that's the way we've done it in the past.
And that's why I'm here. I want to make sure that you know.
Okay.
I mean, you've obviously known that we were doing something out there. But,
Yeah.
okay. And my last one is, guess what? So this is Daniel Webster.
Culverts are us.
The last one for a while, I hope.
Thank you.
So this is Daniel Webster Highway, and the piece on the top is again the emergency permit that we obtained. What I did with this, Kyle and I actually went to St. Eben personally. We were finishing up the first one, and we showed him videos of what was happening inside this culvert, and he's like, oh my. So he said, there's no question whether you need an emergency permit or not. So again, I've provided you with some pictures. Most of these are before and a couple during. I have not taken, well, actually I have taken some. I got a new phone, so I haven't downloaded the pictures off my phone yet. I have to figure this part out, but it's a little different than my last phone. So the first picture was the existing culvert. The existing culvert was a 4 by 5 foot approximately. Actually, it's a 4.5 by 4.5, but they call it a 4 by 5 foot concrete culvert that was coming in. And there was a 4-foot diameter concrete pipe coming from the Shaw's direction. It starts up at the old Shaw's Plaza and comes down. Well, as you can see, the head wall of that one completely had fallen off, and the pipe going back had cracked and severed along the line. So we ended up bringing this whole line back up and replacing the catch basin that was there, which we found, which nobody knew was there, because nobody knew it was there. It wasn't on any plans, nothing. So we've replaced that with a good deep sump so that it's taking Daniel Webster Highway's drainage, and it's trying to do some stormwater prevention before it gets out to the brook. So it's the best we could come up with. And if you look down on the second photo, you can see the concrete was spalling. You could see the rebar within there, which was also starting to fail. And what Jeff is actually pointing down is about halfway down. There were holes going on the complete holes going on the outside, and there were sinkholes right underneath the yellow line. And we had videos of this. So next page, we actually tried to sandbag these holes. The holes themselves weren't huge coming out, but the voids behind were significant. And you can actually see in the next photo, you can see one of the voids in the darkness there, and that was on the outside of the culvert. It's looking into the void.
So then you guys had to place those sandbags?
The highway guys placed the sandbags, yes.
This guy first?
It was not an easy task, and actually the water took them right. We had one storm that put them out and put them back into the actual culvert. I mean, that's how much water was coming through that. So yes. The next third page, we had a number of lines that we had to cross. First is a gas line, a sewer line that actually was cut, and then there's a communications line, and then a water line, and trying to work through all of that. Plus the culvert is 7-foot diameter culvert, so this is a big hole. The next one down is, you can just see the end of the 7-foot, top of the 7-foot culvert, and out ahead of you, which we had to suspend, was a Fairpoint communications line, a bank of 16, encased in concrete, fiber optics that was crumbling as we were trying to work. It literally was falling apart. And we had to do our due diligence, which we did, and we suspended that whole thing, be able to work underneath it and get through. There was also a sewer line that went across through there in that area. So it was a very fun project. Plus, what was holding this road up was there was 6 to 8 inches of concrete that was reinforced. That was the original roadbed that was constructed in 1931. And that was what was holding this road up. So it was quite an impressive project, and sometimes very scary.
So is the new pipe plastic?
Yes,
7 foot
yes,
plastic
reinforced
with
steel.
steel, okay.
That's a
It
huge.
came from Alabama, and it came just before the hurricanes. So, yes. This was recommended, I guess, a couple of towns in Vermont used these, and our consulting engineer was the one that picked this culvert out. And they also have used it in projects, I believe they said in Dover. So it's been used, you know, around the area, but.
Sheds me before it went in the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, I have pictures of it just sitting there. And the last one was just the existing conditions. I didn't have time to do a survey, so they will be doing an as-built survey, and then I'll be able to get my areas for impact, because I will have, it'll probably be under 1,000 square feet again, because again, all the sides of this were very vertical and with small impact. On the inlet side, we did try to angle it to the brook because the brook was coming in at a funny angle, so we did try to angle the pipe a little bit more over and pick up the brook more directly. But we're still within, with a 7-foot diameter, we're still within the culvert.
It's really called Nanticoke?
Did
Or
I-
is that a typo on the
Probably.
letter? It says water body Nanticoke.
Oh, not a-
Is it a typo or?
supposed to be now.
Oh, probably. I didn't,
I thought maybe
he
we
did
were
it, he
just
did it a little quickly.
shortening it. This one says Nanticoke. That one says Nanticoke?
I had no control over that one.
Yes, it is.
So that's what I have for you. And so that, again, I can't do it as an expedited, but I will be having to send up a new wetlands application. This is basically an after the fact, although they don't have an
I
app.
think your mic just went out.
It's still green?
It's on. Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
It just sounded further away.
That's all right.
Okay.
Okay. So that's all I have, unless you have some more questions for me.
I'm all set.
Just for education purposes, when you have the app, if you could let Sharon downstairs know, or leave her an electronic copy if you have electronics. Yes, say that again, yes. So when you have it all together, if you could let Sharon know that you have you'll either give her a hard copy or give her a soft copy so we can see it. So
Okay,
it's good for us to look at these things and learn from them, so,
okay. Well, certainly, it's, again, why I'm here, 'cause
yeah.
keep you in the loop. It was been a real interesting last couple of months, believe me.
Yeah, great.
So, thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
She's already building us a road.
No, thank you.
That's the squeak.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We saved it just for you.
Perfect. At least we'll be.
See on my best behavior.
Something new?
Dell couldn't be here tonight. So I am Dave Cedarholm with Time Bond. I was here, both John and I were here with the Dell before. Maybe it'd just be easier if I just pass this file.
Thanks, Don.
Pass there.
Some of these off. I think they're the same thing.
Oh, here's, you have enough over there? Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have one of these.
All right. I'm not sure how much you remember from the last time we were here, but things have changed a little bit, mostly in the methods of the construction. Our original proposal was to directionally drill the component of the water main crossing that was on the Merrimack side of the river. And once we got into the geotechnical engineering side of the project, and we're working with Brierley Associates, actually from Bedford, and analyzing the pathway of the borehole, and this is it's a 16-inch diameter pipe, so the borehole is actually 42 inches in diameter. The hydraulic pressure inside that borehole is quite significant because, and if you could actually turn to the second page, which is the cross section. So the water level is down here at about 92 feet, and the top of the embankment here is about 118. So there's more than a 20-foot difference in elevation between the water surface and the top of the borehole, which would be the liquid level in the borehole. So the hydraulic pressure underneath the river here in this directionally drilled portion is quite high, and so we actually we did a quick amendment of the permit to allow for a larger area of temporary weight. We had originally permitted a 10-foot wide area, a temporary impact on top of the pipe for a temporary weight to resist the hydraulic pressure and prevent a breakout of the hydraulic fluid. Well, once the geotechnical engineers really closely looked at it, it ended up being a 35-foot wide area with a temporary impact of 3,400 square feet. And that temporary weight would have needed to be 3 solid feet of concrete. And so what we were looking at was over 400 3 by 3 by 3 concrete blocks that would be temporarily placed on the bottom of the river. So we closely looked at the cost of that, the risk associated with that, the impact, although it's temporary, there really could be a significant amount of turbidity involved in placing them and then retrieving them afterwards. So we revisited that method. Yeah, and now have revised it to use a cofferdam on the west side of the river, just like we had proposed on the east side. So this was the proposal all along for a cofferdam on the Litchfield side, and so now we're proposing a cofferdam on the Merrimack side, which actually ends up significantly reducing the temporary impact because now we're looking at a 10-foot wide excavation. The excavation and the pipe installation would happen in the wet, so the cofferdam is really there to keep the excavation open and contain the turbidity inside the excavation. And so the way they would do that is they would install the cofferdam with a crane from the shore. And so we've actually, on the shoreland permit, we've got some additional temporary impact down here for a place to position the crane to do that work. So this was the temporary impact that was proposed with the 400 plus concrete blocks.
The blue square?
This blue square,
Okay.
right. And so now what you see in your packet is we're back to a 10-foot wide temporary impact. And now that we're excavating up the embankment, and the whole reason we proposed the directional drill was to minimize the impact. Well, I think in the end it really created an increase in temporary impact. And so what really is new is this impact on the embankment. So we now have a 561 feet of wetland impact to construct a riprap slope here. There currently is riprap in this area. And what happens, there's actually 3 trees that get impacted, and here I brought a picture taken from the river. There's a cluster of silver maples, there's a 16-inch sycamore, and a 7-inch elm. The excavation, well, the riprap is right on the edge of that little elm. So we're proposing to cut that and leave the stump, but the other 2 stumps will stay in. Will need to be removed. They will be right up through the middle of the excavation. So it's it was an interesting exercise to realize that our original method really didn't make practical sense, and this does. It has the advantage also dealing with a specialty directional drill contractor. This is a really complicated, it would have been a really complicated directional drill, because they're drilling from the Litchfield side through a conductor casing and then up and exiting out over here. So it really it would have been interesting to observe, but I'm glad that I won't observe it. I will sleep much better.
You will.
Yes. So it's a simpler project. Probably the biggest change is we've now gone from a HDPE, a 16-inch diameter HDPE, to a ductile iron ball and socket pipe. So it'll be installed in sections. And the real advantage to that is they'll be able to do the cofferdam, so they can do the cofferdam on one side, install the pipe, and backfill it, pull the cofferdam out, and then go from the other side. And all along we've had this section of pipe across the deepest portion of the river that will be ballasted with concrete anchors on top of it. It would be problematic to do a cofferdam here and a cofferdam here at the same time, and just too much hydraulic obstruction in the river. And one of the drivers of the directional drill method was our interest in doing one continuous piece of thermal fused HDPE pipe, and that would have been nice, but it really complicated matters. So the ball and socket ductile iron pipe is been around for decades. It's a very dependable water main crossing pipe. In fact, that's what they call it. They call it water main river crossing pipe.
Mm-hmm. What's the lifespan on a pipe that size?
That pipe will go 40 or 50 years easily. Yeah. Yeah, it's rugged. It's quite resistant to corrosion. Those ductile iron ball and socket pipes have been in rivers for decades, doing great.
And so this will be laying on the river bottom?
Yeah, so this section from here to here will be laying on the river bottom, and then the rest of it, the portion that gets installed in the cofferdams will be buried below the river bottom.
Now, are you keeping the cofferdams wet?
Yes, yes. Trying to de-water cofferdams of that size, it really kind of a futile effort. They're also, they won't be embedded very deeply because particularly out here, ledge is quite shallow.
Right.
So trying to keep that
Anchored would be.
keep those dry would be really difficult, and really it's pretty simple. They need to excavate to a certain depth, let the turbidity settle, and divers go in and inspect it. And then lay the pipe right in the bottom and then backfill.
How wide is the cofferdam going to be? 10 feet?
10 feet, yeah.
Quite a project.
Be quite a dive.
The intake dam, is
Mhm.
that gonna be done after the crossing?
Correct, yeah, the decision has been made to do this, the water main crossing in 2018 and then the intake project in 2019.
Kind of tight down there to fit both projects in at the same time.
Yeah, we were really hoping to do the water main crossing last summer for a number of reasons, mostly because of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife took a long time to get the approvals to come up onto their property in Litchfield. In the long run, it was good. That gave us a chance to sort of take a step back and reevaluate things. Here we are today.
When is this going to take place?
Well,
When's it planned to take place?
The fund, for the most part, once we approve financing and stuff, we're all set to go at the beginning of the year, anytime after February. In theory, the lead up on each side, we'd like to have this bid so that we can get it going as early as we can. I think we're going to see in-river as part of the permit conditions be mid-July to maybe mid-September, so the in-river work will occur in the summertime. It can, in theory, occur in the wintertime, but we as an owner aren't, that we're not really enamored with having this type of work done in the wintertime. There's too many things that could go wrong. But the lead-up work could actually start, especially on the Litchfield side, could start as early as March. It's all cross-country work, so. All of the easements are in place. We expect the final easement to be in place. It's just a matter of handing over a check and having the owner sign off on it, which we've agreed to. So that's all ready to go.
we have a railroad crossing as well, so the railroad has approved that component of it. So
Yeah, and you have to avoid the fish using the river in the spring, I assume.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah. That's why we can't start until the middle of July.
And the river flows
Yeah.
pretty high.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's
Right. Yeah.
It's probably a good thing in a lot of ways. Huh?
tied in the tide, so to speak.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That'd be pretty tall cofferdam.
Yeah.
So they'll have a relatively small window, so they'll have to move quite efficiently.
How much higher do you think that the river is going to be in the section where the cofferdam isn't? Is that what the second line is here? Is that two?
Yes, the upper line is the typical water surface elevation. The lower line is the lowest ever observed water surface elevation, and that occurred when they were actually doing work on the dam in Lowell. So
Okay.
this is still part of the impoundment of the Lowell Dam. So we wanted to make sure that the water main actually is at least 5 feet below that low observed, so that if that low were to occur in winter, the pipe is still 5 feet below ice. We wanted to make sure that there's always enough water above the pipe that's exposed in the bottom of the river, so that we're not obstructing navigation. And bare minimum, we've got 13 to 15 feet of water over the pipe.
It's a neat project.
Yeah, it is a neat project.
It's a neat project.
So permit-wise, you don't need anything directly from us, correct?
Right, yeah. Just friendly comments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
As I said, it doesn't really seem like it's changed that much, other than, you know, got a couple trees that,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you're replanting trees anyways to
That's
to
right,
put the numbers
yes.
back.
Yeah,
So-
we're replanting a whole lot more trees than the 3 that we're taking out. But that's, you know, that's the good thing.
And they're pretty much trees that we find in the area as well.
Correct.
So,
Yes,
which is something we really like.
right,
You know,
right, yeah.
Let's not introduce yet another species.
No, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have any comments
Yeah.
besides that. So,
I want to know the timetable so I can come watch.
Definitely give everybody the alert when it starts.
Yeah, it's, you know, in all seriousness, I'd love to see some of this going on. This is great.
that's right up your wheelhouse almost.
It is. This is right at the things I like.
So, and I'm sure the people of Litchfield will appreciate the clean water, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. If anyone's got any questions, comments? No, good. Gentlemen, thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
in tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just the opposite.
I didn't notify anyone about this. This is just an FYI for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
Good night. All right. I sent you all an email a little while ago. NHACC dues were due. We've not signed them. We've not paid them yet, but it was should have brought that email if I didn't have it available. I asked Sharon to go back and look, and the amount is pretty much in correlation with what we paid the last few years. It took a jump 3-4 years ago. It took a little bit of a bump, but it's been about the same for the last I think 3 years. So as long as we still want to be members.
Yeah, it's significant. The dues are significant.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah,
was a- it
yeah,
was
absolutely.
A nice conference. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was your first conference, right?
My
Yeah.
first time.
They do a nice job.
Yeah, and I think what was really nice was, I mean, I picked my classes based on my interests, and no one else was in the class that I was in, and I don't think anybody was in the same class. I think we all did
No.
something different, and
Yeah.
we all learned something different, which was nice. So,
It's true.
yeah, so I think we got our money's worth out of that conference.
Well, I'll entertain a motion.
So I move we approve the 2017 dues to the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions from the town budget.
Yeah, second?
Okay, everyone just heard that from the town budget, right?
From the town budget.
Cindy seconds. That would where'd my little cheat sheet go? Right there.
Jackie, this is something that's normally kept in the budget. You should see it as a line item under Tim's department. So,
I assumed that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be looking at a lot of budgets soon.
yes, you will. That's what you signed up for, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, any comments and questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Say passes 7-0-0. All right. Old business. Review the signs for the Scalar town and town waterfront properties. Do you want to talk on this?
Well, I think we were all there that night. So
Well, yeah, so
signage was approved by the town council, so we can begin that process. And in a related matter, I think it being the holiday season, I think I'll look into getting the committee together probably in January, because it's already Thanksgiving time almost. But yeah, so you think we should start posting it now, or wait till after the winter season?
just to be clear, we didn't ask for permission to post on our property. We basically went in asking for permission to post on the outskirts of the town property, which is where the boat ramp is. That's the 3B section of parcel, and that's where we need to post some, but also internal to our property now, just in some of the heavily used areas.
I think having done a lot of posting and seeing the activity down there, I don't think there's a season. I think they're using it year round. Snow, whatever, mud,
Sooner the
season.
better.
Yeah, it's year round, and I think we're likely going to need more than just the signs that we have. We're likely going to need posts, maybe a post hole digger. We're going to need just more than a couple of roofing nails and these signs.
And then we're going to need support. I mean, we'll probably have to send a letter or an email to the chief and tell him that we have the town council support and that we're putting these up. And
So ideally, what we should do is mark where they are, take a picture of each one of them, so we have a record of it, so that if they do come up missing and they do get found in the back of a pickup truck or something like that, that they have a record that where they came from. And that way someone who does drive off with one of them can be charged with receiving stolen property, which is a misdemeanor offense, which will certainly wake somebody up, as well as the destruction of town property, which is another offense. So.
also, one of the classes I was at on Saturday, had the fishing game. It was about ATV, OHRV use.
OHRV,
yeah. And he pretty much admitted that they're short-handed and dependent on the local police force to enforce these things.
Yeah, and it's not just OHRVs, it's Jeeps and 4x4s.
Oh yeah, it's 4x4s for sure.
Well, they've expanded that
Yeah,
definition
includes-
to include anything that is off-highway. So even if you take your car, which is licensed to be on a highway and you drive it normally, and you drive it off-road, it is now considered an off-road recreational vehicle.
Yes.
And you can be subject to whatever fines and penalties you've incurred by driving it off-road.
Yeah, the captain said that on Saturday.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Well, I think that you just said the magic word, Gage, to be honest. I've been down there, as we all have. It's like a posting against ticks at Horse Hill. It's gone so long and so ferociously that I just can't imagine anybody, honestly, turning around, the type of an individual who does that sort of thing. Oh gosh, I'm not allowed now. I can't picture it.
They're not allowed. I mean, by law, they are not allowed, even if it's not posted.
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
Everywhere, right?
So I think the magic word there, well, two words is enforcement and fines.
Yes,
Fines.
that's another
Money
point.
talks.
Right, so another point that Fish and Game made was that you need to have, the fines need to be imposed for it to be effective.
They really do.
And you can't just say, don't
And
come here
often.
anymore.
Yeah.
So I'd like to encourage the fact that we also post our no target shooting signs, which we already have the commission's approval to post, no target shooting, because we already went through that, over a year ago. on a previous property, so.
And we know what's going on.
Yes, we do know what's going on. We have evidence as well as, hearing accounts, because you can hear it.
Right, right, Mr. Tudowski commented
Yeah,
about that.
absolutely.
He's sick and tired of that.
But we've seen,
What did he say?
He's sick and tired, of the shooting
So
and of the
dangerous.
condition of that, because he abuts the property and he knows what it's like down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so dangerous when you don't know where the sound is coming from.
Yeah, and, he thinks it's disgraceful in the condition it's in, so you want,
yeah.
Well, so we can start making plans to, we actually may have to walk the town border a little bit to make sure we have a good idea of where that town border is, because if we're gonna post on that, we have to post it on the town property. Those wildlife sign, the fish and game signs, that's, I'm assuming we're gonna wanna get. The ones, the stay dry, stay legal, list the RSA.
RSAs.
Yeah, list the RSAs on them, and we already have the target signs, so.
Yeah, but do we want more generic signs that just says no motorized use permitted?
We have the no motorized wheeled vehicles.
Yeah, I think we need to, because there's some places, if you post the ones related to wetlands, outside of a wetland, people are
Yeah.
not gonna know. So we're gonna need to have two kinds of signs. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
Did the no motorized say town of Merrimack on?
No, but
Conservation Commission?
we can get the seals and put the seals on them.
yeah.
Town of Merrimack seals.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind snowmobiles there? Are snowmobiles allowed?
On a lot of our properties, they are.
Snowmobiles are not considered an OHRV. They have a different classification for as an off-road vehicle, because they don't, the concept is snowmobiles ride on the snow, they don't ride on the ground. And, if anyone's snowmobile, you don't want to drive in the sticks and the dirt, because it rips up your track pretty quickly, it rips up the bogies pretty quickly, so it's kind of self-policing, as someone who wants to ride a sled is going to, for the most part, try to stay off the mud. And
That's
So-
true, yeah.
Their impact is a lot less.
Their impact is much less.
negligible, yeah.
And usually they're much quieter, because simply for the fact people have their windows closed in the wintertime, and there's not as much problem with it. But that's a good question. I mean, are we gonna say no motorized wheeled or no motorized? Period.
My thought is, since there aren't established trails, if you allow snowmobiles, they're gonna go everywhere, which
Yeah.
means they could potentially damage saplings and other things
Yeah.
that we're trying to establish, so I believe we should go after what we originally said and just no motorized.
No motorized.
Until we can get a plan for the property and start getting people down there on a regular basis so we know what's going on and do it in an appropriate manner, I think we should just shut it all down and then work up, as opposed to keep pulling privileges away. You know what I mean? And, maybe some of these folks who do utilize the property will step up and become part of our group and work to solve the problem, not fight the problem. So,
Will be. Fisherman.
It's kind of that.
yeah, because, the whole idea is to create a good area for recreation for all the people in town, not for a small select group, which mostly come from out of town anyways.
And drive other users away.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, a lot of the vehicles we've found have, out-of-state license plates and other things like that on them, so people are coming here because they think they can get away with it.
Yeah, so that was another comment made on Saturday is, New Hampshire gets a lot of traffic from Massachusetts and Vermont
Mm-hmm.
because, there's no place, it's more restricted and there's no place to go there, and so they come up here.
Yep.
Well, and you get some of the towns up north. That's their primary source of income for tourism is ATV use,
Yeah, it's a
and
big
they're promoting it.
Definitely.
Pure
so,
Gold
yeah.
State Park.
Yeah,
and all
there's a lot of places up north that are promoting
Yeah.
ATV use
Yeah.
in OHRV.
Just bought a camp in Pittsburgh strictly because they want a snowmobile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
just a tiny little place
Right.
Yep.
with lots of acreage for.
Well, there's more groomed trails in New Hampshire than there is paved roads. So,
Really, is that
yes.
right?
Yeah, so once you get up in the North Country, it's a means of transportation. It's a,
But here we're talking about the banks of the Merrimack
Right.
River.
Right.
Quite different.
It's scary too, thinking about snowmobiles on the river, because if part of the river freezes and people try to go on that and it breaks, that's.
Well,
can't fix stupid.
yep, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. You can't fix stupid.
Anybody who goes on the Merrimack
Yes,
River.
they will do it.
Yeah.
There was a man that drowned in Babuzik Lake right off our property 10 years ago.
Well, I know they're on Natticook.
Oh, yeah,
Mm.
oh,
See
yeah.
them on Natticook, you know, the traps.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, the river's flowing.
Well, right. The river's flowing. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, right, and we
No,
just,
there's pictures of it frozen though. I mean,
Yep,
there's,
I know.
you know, you look at the old pictures of the mills and stuff. They're all out standing out in the middle of the Merrimack. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
and we all know how important the Merrimack River is for multiple reasons. I mean, you know, Pennachuck was just here, you know, updating us on their proposal.
Yeah.
well,
Right.
so we want to move forward with that. That kind of leads into the whole next section. You know, obviously signing it is just a single step, and like you said, Jackie, there has to be fines attached to it, which now kind of we get into 111. We don't have any specified.
So before you go to chapter 111, is someone going to have an opportunity to go out and take an inventory and put together a list of materials and have signs made, or do we need a motion to authorize the purchase of signs? You know what I?
Well, how many do we have left? Do you know? The no motorized. Do you have most of them?
Yeah, I have all of. I think I have all of them.
Okay.
And I have 2 bundles of the no shooting signs, so definitely enough of those.
Okay.
Do a couple of us like want to go out there and try to walk it one day and
I try to walk the town parcel and
yeah,
see if we can find them.
GPS on your phone? Or would you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to come and.
Yeah.
I'll-
Sure. Just
Well, we're already going out this Saturday,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
To Wasserman.
there's the LSIP walk. Yep.
Do we need to post that? That
depends
we're
on how
doing
many
it?
people are going.
I think most of us are going.
It's been in our meeting minutes for a while now. So
See, I learned something when I was at the.
It's probably gonna be,
It would-
it's probably
It
gonna be a
would
lot
be,
of
it
signs.
would be a
huh?
good thing to ask Sharon to post it.
yeah,
that-
she can post it, but it's
There'll be no decisions made,
no decisions. It's just a walk.
just a walk, yeah.
And if we could get the police to go down there on weekends,
Down where my
down to the river.
So when you post it, what do you do? Does somebody just email Sharon and,
Mm-hmm.
do you want me to do that? You want to do it?
You certainly can if you'd like.
Okay.
We're due to meet at 9 o'clock in the parking lot, in the town, in the what do we call it? The town
Residents.
resident parking lot on Saturday, November 11th.
So do we want to schedule a river walk too for the signage? See who wants to,
It's going to be more of an inventory. I don't
Right.
think we're not going to try to sign it. I don't think try to sign it that day.
or you want to just,
We
a
can
couple of us
try to
go?
do some of them.
We're
but-
there, throw a couple up.
Yeah, we're there. We can put some up. I mean, we may end up being there. That's going to be a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a long way. So we might end up needing more than a day to go
Oh, yeah.
do that. 18-19 is the next weekend.
Thanksgiving's the Thursday after that.
Right? The
Daughter's
23rd.
coming up Tuesday.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone's
Saturday?
going to be 25, 26 would be
That's Thanksgiving weekend.
that's
Yeah,
the
so
weekend.
that one's out.
That one's out. So that's what I'm saying. We have 18, 19, and then we go into December 2nd or 3rd.
18, 19.
Does anybody got stuff for?
Yeah, I can't. I've got house stuff.
Yeah, I know you.
I'm hoping to get moved soon.
Oh. The
cardboard box getting cold.
It's such an ordeal to move.
Yeah, I moved twice. I had to move out and then store everything, and now I get to move back in
That's right.
sometime. So, I'm not living in a regular house right now. So,
We had to do that.
yeah.
It's really, yeah.
Not fun.
After the third time, you get tired of it.
Yeah.
The 18th works for me.
Okay. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So, November 18th? You want to try to meet all the way down at the parking area, or?
See what condition it's in. Yeah, probably.
We're doing that
Yeah,
one.
'cause that-
Yeah, I mean, so it'd be the three of
I
us
can.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I can, the last time I went down there.
I got my
could
car
make
down there.
I got it
Raisin,
back,
the raisin
but
can make it?
Yeah.
I
got my
didn't
car
really
down
want it back after I got it. It's pretty muddy.
Yeah.
Both of them.
I can
Because that would be the easiest thing to sign with, like, the no shooting.
I could always
target shooting.
pick you up too.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of trying to get out to the edge of the town property. That might not be the best place to start from, but there's certainly plenty of roadways into that area right there, which you could, if we could find the edge, we can mark those.
Where we think they're coming in
Yeah.
most.
Well, it's pretty obvious where they're coming in, so.
Now, should we get those metal rods to drive in?
The T-bar?
Yeah.
That would be easier, huh?
Yeah, I'm just, yeah,
See if they last.
yeah, let's just think, see how long they last.
Yeah, it shouldn't stop us from doing it, though.
No,
Sorry, I mean, I know I'm saying that, and I'm not going to go out there with you, so.
no,
It's
it's not
probably
that,
not-
I'm just, it's, I can't tell you how those things, stood back up.
Yeah,
Sit there and bend them back up and so they're vertical again,
yeah.
you know. But, yeah, the
Yeah,
T-bar,
Once we have it established, we can put up some game cameras and we can catch them.
and once it's signed too, with the,
I'll bring the game cameras too.
that's one of the items the police were, they're like, look, it's tough to go down there and enforce because, yes, there's laws, but no one knows. And they think,
They know.
They know, yeah.
So it's not your property. Doesn't that tell you ought to ask someone before you do
Right.
it?
So-
It's not
And
your
they're on the
property.
banks of the Merrimack River.
so,
You would think that some town would create an ATV park for people to go and ride their ATVs and charge people to do that.
It's tough around up north. It's tough around here now. It's so populated.
Well, nobody wants to listen to it, I guess.
Isn't there something by the dump?
Yeah, there is
Of course
one
there is.
there is an ATV park
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where?
in town.
Right.
on Lawrence Road.
By the transfer station.
On Lawrence Road.
The
We
old-
have one.
Yeah.
Is it an actual ATV park, or is
Yeah.
it just where people go and?
No, it's no.
It is, it's actual, it's
It's,
The
yeah,
DPW.
Up there,
when they-
they just don't want to.
the landfill.
Not enough mud, maybe.
It's a
They want to go where
It's
they
a
want.
track.
They just want to go where they want to go.
They don't want to have to follow rules, okay? This Clough State Park, that's 35 minutes from here? It's a huge open area.
yeah.
It's just so far out of my realm, I can't comprehend it. I'm like such a rule follower. For the most part.
There's a rebel inside somewhere.
So,
Right.
the three of us will be in contact.
All right.
I may come to observe.
When you come.
Don't
So
wear
you-
so the-
expensive shoes.
So Saturday the 18th. Right, Saturday the 18th,
9.
and at 9:00 we can meet down at the turnaround.
Mhm.
Put it in my calendar. Don't know that I'd be very helpful, but
It's interesting.
yeah, exactly. I
It's-
could
Right, it's by
direct.
the ri-
Oh, good. We need more of that.
And if you don't look at the ruts, the river is pretty.
Right. Yes.
There's only that one spot, the one that I had trouble. Remember, you were like,
Crossing the brook.
walk across this log here, and then climb up this 8-foot tall embankment.
You're younger than I am.
Oh, that's how you got her across Netticook Brook.
Then I'm looking at it, I'm going, what? And I'm going, you're going to have to help me up. And Mike's like, no. Matt goes, walk around this way. By that time, my shoe was a lost cause.
It was Mike got sucked right off.
Shoes, socks, it was all bad. Finish
Sorry.
the walk. That's okay. That's all right. It was an adventure.
Right in your own backyard.
Yeah.
Mike's stride is just so
Yeah.
much farther than everybody else's. He was like, "Why couldn't you just get right over that?"
It's like, I'm what, about a foot shorter than you? And you're like, just climb right up here. And I'm looking at it going,
He's like a gazelle. He just goes whoop, whoop, right.
have wellies wear those.
All right. So we're going to 111 quickly. There's not really a lot to. So, do you want to relay our commitments?
So I committed us to putting together like a project plan and what's going to be required to overhaul Chapter 111 and have that done in the first quarter of next year. So what I thought I would sign up for is to put together the beginnings of that for our next meeting, if you'd like.
Okay.
Just some general thoughts as to what I'm thinking needs to be included in the project. Not this is step by step, but what's on my mind, what I'm thinking we have to be thinking about doing, and then we can refine it. Give input, and what I thought we would do is we would provide that input to Eileen and Tim Thompson, since he's our liaison for the commission, and if at some point we'll take it to the council and let them be aware of what all that's involved here, because it's not just a couple hours.
Yeah. So you're just giving guidelines for the town to take over and.
Well, what we can do is we can specify what we think we can do as commissioners and what we need staff support to help us with, and where we think there's approval processes required, or maybe input, places where we want to get input, like from the council or from other folks, so we don't go off in one direction, find out we missed the mark and we should have turned left instead of turning right. So I think some of that's going to be involved here. And eventually, Chapter 111 will have to go through the same process that the other ordinances are going through. It'll have to have a first reading, a second reading, and a third and final reading where it's approved or not, or modified and approved. But it'd be good to make sure that we were in sync with the council before we got to all that process. So
This would be a great opportunity too to have some of the subcommittee members be, providing some input. Because we do have the cultures on each of the subcommittees, while they have a similar charge, they have a very different feel. So it might be worthwhile to get them involved, or get a representative from each one involved in the actual writing.
Yeah. So I can start putting some thoughts together, just a very straw man proposal at this point, and then we can start refining it.
Okay.
All right. It's either that or the first meeting in December. I'm not sure which is easier.
I wouldn't mind. I would rather get this going earlier than later. I think it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think the quicker we get it going, and the more we keep it on our mind, I think the more we're going to get done.
All right.
That puts us to the 20th
Right.
of this month. Is that going to be enough time for you? I mean, I know you've got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I'm only going to put no more than a couple hours into this before I put it out to all of you.
Okay.
Because I don't want to go too far down the road and
Right.
So.
Now,
So when do you need it to have it ready for the packets then?
It's what, 7?
Was it a week from today?
Yeah, basically a week from today.
Right.
Well,
Or do we need it? We don't need it for the.
I don't know if we need to have it in the packet.
Okay.
Your actual outline in the packet. Obviously, whatever you bring to the meeting, we can submit back as notes.
Yeah.
But whatever you have time to build, that we can submit, and then we all have a little bit of a kind of a focus as to what
Okay.
direction we're going in.
Yeah, I will certainly get it out to all of you before the weekend, so you have some time to look at it before the meeting. Because if not, you won't have enough time to
Yeah.
to generate an opinion and provide constructive feedback. So, critique it, criticize it. Go ahead. No, by the way, I don't take anything personal when it comes to drawing stuff up. So don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. If we would much rather see something else.
Go read my 1 stars on Goodreads.
So,
Go read my 1 stars on Goodreads. So you and I are in good company.
Oh, okay.
You can't. When you write stuff like that, you can't.
nope.
Yep, that's true. Okay, well, thank you, Tim.
So you mentioned a bit about how you were thinking abstract, having Chapter 111 cover certain properties and maybe grouping properties together. These 3 like properties would have these criteria. These 5 properties would have this criteria.
I think right now, and this is just early thinking, is that there's going to be a set of things that we're going to want on all the properties, but that's going to be a short list, okay? And then after that, there's going to be groupings.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd like to keep it to 3 groupings if at all possible. With the 4th being there's no regulation or restriction on some properties, and we just leave it the way it is right now because it's not a problem. And ideally, I don't want to fix a non-problem as well. So we own some back properties that are behind some subdivisions that are really thin little narrow strips and all that stuff. No sense wrapping a whole bunch of rules around them because we'd have to go out and tell every property owner, hey, there's a bunch of new rules on this, for something that has minimal conservation value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe we don't include every property. But, there's a lot of parcels, though. We're talking 40 to 50 parcels. But Horse Hill no longer, Horse Hill is now 1 parcel, but in the beginning it was 6 parcels, I believe, or something like that. Greater Woods is, 8 parcels or something like that?
Yeah, at least.
So,
With different sets of
of
deed
rules.
language.
Yeah, that one's going to be a hard one.
Mm.
So we may take a minimalist approach there and do what's basically required. But, that's all stuff we have to look at. Because if we get too restrictive and write so much into it, it just becomes a real maintenance problem and a headache.
And some of the wording in Chapter 111 might disagree with wording in a deed
Right.
that was written.
Yeah, so researching deeds is going to be part of our process, and that's going to be one of the steps we're going to have to go through.
We need a lawyer on that. Any lawyers out there? Sign on?
So it'll be a bit of work, but if we do it well, it should be a good thing. And because the council is able to change ordinances by following a set process, if we get it wrong, in 2 months it could be corrected. It's not like it has to go back to a town vote and be voted all over again. That's kind of the beauty of the way the charter set that whole process up, is it can be adjusted, it can be fixed.
Most of the changes have been very, very minor, and some not at all. And the department heads have done a fine job in going over everything and picking up a better wording, even little things.
Yeah, because one of the things we're going to have some conflict with is, and not like it's a bad way, but just how do we do it? We've got town property that we manage that's not Conservation Commission, but it's got a conservation easement on it. Look at the Greater Woods again, a good example. We've got a school parcel. We've got 30 acres of a school parcel that it's under our management, but we don't own. And the town doesn't necessarily own it either. It's a whole nother entity. We've got Mitchell Woods and Watkins Forest, which is going to have MDV, ownership. So it's going to be, it's not going to be a clear cut. Oh yeah, this parcel, this parcel, this parcel. It's going to be, this is going to be a challenge to make this work, and find a good way to make it work. So,
And back to your comment, it will have to have legal review. Absolutely.
oh yeah.
Just thinking, out in the whole wide world, if somebody is looking to sign on to the Conservation Commission, it would be nice to have.
Pro bono.
Yeah, that's
Nice to
right.
have somebody that has some legal background.
We're all doing pro bono here.
Yeah, we're all doing pro bono, that's right.
I doubt that anyone would
Yeah.
give a professional opinion, though, under those circumstances.
No, exactly, yeah, that would be, yeah.
Yeah.
But we could certainly get down the right path, though, you know, having someone little guidance in that part.
Maybe.
But, you know, back earlier what I said, you can kind of jump into 111, that's gonna be also where we'd have any kind of fiscal penalties, for, you know, fines for breaking the, you know, ATVs or OHRV. So, and we are bound, I think it's $1,000, I think, or $1,500?
Up to
Up to $1,000, you know, by federal law, you can't really, or state, I guess that's the state. Yeah, we can't, you know, we can't just, you know, it's $1 million if you do this wrong. You know, we are bound by some laws.
Typically, when you do something that's terrible, it's usually breaking more than one law,
Right.
which can get into misdemeanor land or felony land. So, I hope not.
I hope not.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But
Happens.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a need to do this. I mean, think of where we would have been with the incident in Horse Hill if we'd had this
that's true.
cut and dry,
Right.
and ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been,
Very simple.
and Don would have been much happier.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
We all would have been.
all right. Any more comments? Chapter 1? We good? Okay. You all have in your package. You should have a copy of the new meeting minutes, meeting dates that look like this. If you have one of the other ones that has just the header on it, it's got a couple changes on it. So you want the one that's got the little emblem on it.
The old one. I got the old one.
All right, so there's
one.
if do you have an extra one that looks like this?
I think so.
Two left here.
Here.
Okay.
There's another one there.
Sharon said she made some changes. I'm like, I was like, okay, I'll just use the new one. So, I'm not sure if we really need to vote on these to accept them, but this is, you know, our standard days and standard time at our standard room. So,
We have 2 in July and 2 in August. Don't we usually go?
In July.
submittal dates. Those are submittal dates and meeting dates.
Right.
The two
I'm looking at meeting
meetings.
dates.
Yeah, there's not.
July.
Oh,
2nd.
August.
Yeah.
There's 2 in July and 2 in August.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do typically only go to one,
Yeah.
and so you know,
I
we can.
You can have a meeting on the 2nd, but I'll be honest with you, I won't be here. I've already put money to be somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I will not be here, all right?
That's your guarantee.
So
That's
we can either leave the dates on there and cancel the meetings, or cancel them now.
But see, the trouble is if you don't cancel it now, and you know you're gonna have a quorum problem on the 2nd of July, someone's gonna put together a plan, they're gonna invite their engineers, they're gonna get
Yep.
ready to show up, and then you're gonna cancel at the last minute, or not the last minute, but.
You just take it out?
So
Yep.
do we want to remove July 2nd?
Let's get rid of it.
Yep.
Yeah, and in the past, I thought we tried to figure it out so that we had 3 meetings spread between January and February. As it stands now, we only have 1 meeting in each month. But I don't have a problem with it. Less meetings is always a good thing. So you can, I mean, if you put the calendar out now, people can plan for it, and we can deal with it, so.
Well, it's 20 meetings, rather, I mean,
Yeah.
20, we potential could have 24, but I think that's reasonable.
Mhm.
Plus, the weather's usually so bad.
So
and
January 8th. I'm sorry, Gina. I didn't mean to step on you.
That's
but
okay.
January 8th would be a way to have 3 meetings. That's a date that's, you know,
It's not a holiday, so we don't have to worry about that.
right. It's not a holiday. It's if we feel the need to have the 3 meetings, or more than that, because we're February 5th.
I'm fine with it the way it is. I just wanted to bring it up to just let you know that what we've done previously, so.
I'm not sure why we don't have one scheduled for March 19th. Yeah, we do. Okay. Do we want to try to leave it the way it is for January and February? Or
I
do-
would. The weather's usually so bad then.
Okay. So we're going to try to we'll leave that as is. And then we have we have 2 in August, which is, again, a little bit unusual.
But only one in July. So.
Yeah, we usually have 2 in August and 1 in September, right? Usually. I think usually we do.
Yeah.
And 1 in July.
Yeah.
So I think that's typical.
Yeah, the July meeting is our meeting, is our annual meeting where we vote to.
Well, we usually don't. We usually miss it and do it in August.
Well, that's just like I just put a note on the bottom. Sharon can add that into so we all so we have to keep it on our radar this time.
Yeah, that's right.
Should we put in our nominations now?
I nominate Matt.
Yeah, right.
Well, the July meeting is the one you want to attend, because if you don't, you'll get nominated for something.
So now we know, don't take vacation.
All right, so we're going to leave the 2 in August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just leave it.
So that August 20th one gets kind of
I
sketchy with the whole moving kids into college thing.
yeah, I can guarantee I'm going to probably miss one of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think I move Lainey in on the 18th.
Well, that way, if, if one comes up that gets canceled, you got the other one.
Yeah.
I'm glad you find this so amusing. Stop telling her jokes, would you? All right, so we are going to leave the January, February dates as is. We're going to remove the July 2nd meeting, and we're going to highlight the July 6th meeting as our vote, as our annual meeting for officers.
16th.
16th, July 16th. That sound good?
I'm
Change
gonna
this?
vote for Matt.
Okay. Okay, new business. The 2018 budget items. So we do, like the NHACC dues, we have some items that are handled out in the town budget, not out of our own funds. I'm trying to think of some nice, clear way to say this is the kind of things that we spend money on, and these are the kind of things that we expect support on. So, haven't really been very successful in coming up with a real way to draw that line, because I can argue myself into either side. So, I was hoping someone would have some clarity.
The town budget stuff has kind of been like that for years.
Right.
So it just has these legs that just continue to keep it going. So.
Right. And it makes sense. I mean, there's things that that we don't do that are directly related to conservation. That are not us needing to go out and put up signs on a property or something like that. That's dues. Makes great sense. But okay, but then we go to that meeting so we can learn more about what to do in the conservation property. So I'm like, okay, you could go the other way with these things. So I don't know if we want to try to look at this as a way of things that we have to purchase for the public. Well, okay, then we buy wood to make bridges. We buy if we have to buy signs to sign something. Okay, that's you could say, okay, that's something that we need to do kind of annual. But then all of our woods projects, we do the same thing. I mean, we don't build bridges for me or for you. We build them so everyone can walk over them. So I don't know, I was just all over the map on this.
So you're saying if this gets put into the community development, into the budget, then the town, it would be an expense for the town?
Yes, yeah. We have a small budget as part of the town. I mean, we're not 100% funded but out of our own Fund 53. And they pay the Lay Lakes, I guess they pay
It's something to look.
Lakes monitoring, they pay for the JCC dues.
They pay for the New Hampshire Society.
So, yeah.
The
And
Society
our
for yeah.
revenue source will be dwindling.
Is dwindling, yes. Yep.
So I consider those administrative things, like dues,
Yep.
training. I mean, if you owned a business, you'd train your employees. I consider those administrative, so I viewed the town budget items as administrative stuff. And the things that we actually do that makes a direct impact to the properties, whether that's maintenance or improvements, get handled by the Conservation Fund. And that's how I, in my mind, separated the two items. So,
So reports and studies, or you are thinking of being directly related to?
well, why would we do a report or a study? It would be to improve or correct a problem on a land. So that's why I would fund them out of the Conservation Fund. But, paying for postage, that's administrative. That should come out of the town budget. So, and
So maps, printing the maps.
honestly, I think they should come out of the town
Okay,
budget.
that's my saying. To me, that would have been like, yeah, that's something that we're gonna, we put a lot of work into. We've made the trails. We've done it. Now it's just a matter of.
Would you like to comment on that? Would you like to comment on that?
Well, I just, kind of mulling it over. Of course, I couldn't decide anyway. Because I'm thinking that the town center committee, we use the, now that I think of it, the great, what do you call that? The planning group in
Right.
that. Thank you, the NRPC. The town center committee has the NRPC do it. So we don't really need a budget for that. And I would think that you could, but just off the top of my head, I would think that you
have to
would.
pay NRP.
No. So the NRPC created maps that are available, but we're talking about the ones that we give out at the kiosks.
We're talking about having reprinted. I mean, having
That's
a
what
couple
we
of
do.
thousand.
But that, I don't have any with me. But we just have a group of, yes, we had the nice big ones that we place, we went to the Halloween party and things like that. We lug them around. But we have the, I think they might be 11 by 14 tri-folded. And the town does that for us. But then again, we're a town committee, so I don't know.
Right, so the town does that for you.
Yes.
Right. So
Just like that lickety split while you stand there.
So that makes my point.
Right. So maps. So that's what I say. So I have to give Tim Thompson. He's going in front of the town council to present the budget, and he's doing the 13th, I believe. So he's like, here are what your budget items are now. Has anything changed? So, we know what the maps would have cost. We're assuming we're going to have to buy them every year. I mean, we don't know. This is the first time we've ever put them out, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Where do you put them in the kiosks?
Right.
They must disappear pretty quickly.
We ask for people to return them, that's still.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
Good,
They
good.
do disappear quickly.
They do, but they actually go. It's not like people crunch them up and leave them in the trails. We're not finding them trashed, you might say.
So items like the map printing, I should add.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we put a line item in there for printing signs? Or is that something that, signage, is that something we're doing, we're funding it out of ourselves?
Maybe if you called them pamphlets or something.
Take the river signage. Some of that's going to be on town property.
Okay, but this is,
This
yes,
is what we're
I
talking about.
understand what you're saying, but that, maybe that's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about a yearly budget.
Right.
We're not gonna be signing the town property yearly.
Right.
Or, God, I hope we're not.
But hopefully we're not gonna be signing any of the properties annually.
Good point.
My gut reaction is that you'd be expected to do your own
I would think so.
budget
Yeah.
for that. I'm thinking pamphlets still, rather than the signage. I know what you mean now.
So that would,
I was just gonna say, we were thinking both, you know, but well, what we want to put in is for the actual pamphlets, and it sounds like the signs will not put in for,
we'll do ourselves.
yeah.
Is that the only item you guys?
You could ask. You could always ask.
Correct.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Because
Somebody, they might have a different take on it.
it is for the public good.
It all is. We're here together, and 100 other people in town too.
I think over time, the paper map is going to become obsolete as more and more people utilize their electronic media.
I think a lot of people do, don't they? The younger
Yeah.
people
Because
especially.
we're making it a lot easier for people to have the map on there. You know,
People prefer it.
soon as we have the little QR codes available, so people can walk up to the kiosk and put their phone on it, get the QR code, and it gives them a map on their phone instantaneously.
We have one of those codes on a map we had done for the Riverwalk, the Sohegan Riverwalk.
Yeah, and we have all
I
those
wouldn't know
codes set
how
up
to
for our
try it
maps.
out.
So,
Okay. Something you want to say?
I do. How about the vernal pool parties? In educational, for public. You know, we do that almost annually,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, it's something that we invite
Seedling giveaway.
the school. Exactly, seedling giveaway.
Yep.
Um,
Yes, I mean, if we ever, I mean, 25 copies, so I go down to Staples and do 25, 30 copies, or down here, and just ask community development to do it, because we don't put up so many of those, but we could, you know, that's, I guess, something.
well, we have a printing budget.
Yeah, we have a printing budget
Right now,
already.
right.
Yeah, so it's,
I was more talking about paying Jeff
So
to come and educate the public.
Okay.
so we have an education line item in the
Mhm.
current budget. We just haven't taken
Advantage of it.
good use of it.
Hmm.
Right. So by the way, Paul takes whatever's remaining in our conservation town budget and puts it into our Fund 51 every year. So the money's not lost,
Oh, that's good.
and it doesn't get Tim doesn't absorb it into his budget. So yes, we may have drawn from 53 to take care of Jeff, but that offsetting revenue is being seen in Fund 51, which is our other fund that we've made a mental decision not to utilize for now, because that's our real rainy day fund.
mm-hmm.
So but you're right, what we should have been doing is taking it from our town education budget line item. Because in the past, that light education budget was used to send folks to 4-H school. It was done for a bunch of other things.
we'd send kids to camp.
Camp and all kinds of things, and that kind of fell out of favor. We would put it out there and we wouldn't get any applicants, so we kind of stopped using it, and that piece of money didn't get very well utilized. We use a touch of it for ourselves once a year, so we can all go to the conference and learn about things that are very relevant to what we're doing.
Right.
But the rest of the education fund just doesn't get used every year, so it really should cover Jeff or something else we do to educate the public in a very public manner. So, or it gets allocated somewhere else at the, right, so.
Because we do, I mean, when we have Jeff come in, or we have anyone come in to do talks, we fund that out of 53, so.
Yeah, and we've been probably doing that incorrectly. Sorry. I apologize. So.
Right, well, I can figure out, I know what the cost was for the printing, and I can have them include that as a line item in the budget for the printing, and we'll just say we're gonna print, you know, a couple thousand maps.
Mhm.
And if it changes, next year we'll change it.
And see where we get.
Right.
Right.
Sounds good. Okay. So one thing you wanted to talk about signs in particular?
Well, I was really thinking of the signage for Sklar and town waterfront properties.
Okay.
So,
So we covered that
We did.
sufficiently?
Yeah.
All right. All right, any other new business that's not on the agenda? Anybody? No? All right, we're gonna go into subcom updates. We had any?
We had a Horse Hill meeting, excuse me, last month. We have about 5 bridges that need repairs. So at some point we'll get together and submit a list for all the supplies, that are needed. And if you hear of anyone that wants to help, like the Girl Scouts, or, we could always use the help on that. We did have a question about the map, like for the turnaround time. That was, obviously I gave everybody a new map and said we were going to be, distributing them. And that was some of their questions because we didn't want to run out because we ran out before, just when we were in the transition, But, so I guess, do we know what the turnaround time would be? Once we needed to order them. I know we still have some now, but
Yeah, they're fairly quick.
they're fairly quick.
They're fairly
Okay.
quick. It's a file. And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
they run them and.
Yeah, I know there was extenuating circumstances before because the guy got stuck.
Yeah, there was
In
the
the-
hurricane. And
Right. And so
and
that
they had to
was.
figure out how to use their new machine, so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But obviously they figured it out pretty well.
Yes.
So-
Right.
Yeah, that's a fairly quick process.
Okay.
It's
That's
not
what I thought.
it's not a long process. Obviously, the cost is going to be different when you ask for a few thousand
Mhm.
copies versus I need 500.
Right.
So it would be obviously we'd like to try to keep
Mm-hmm.
the quantities up, so we're making sure we're really down to 1 or 2 before we
Mm-hmm.
need to.
Need to order them. They go fast in Orso.
Well, yeah,
Fortunately,
again,
but-
in that might be the first place we put up a sign saying, please return these when they're done, or
Mhm.
use the QR code, because there's no need to be blowing through that many pieces of paper
Mm-hmm.
on a regular basis. I would think. At some point in time, people can remember the trail.
Right. I know. Right.
Or even map every time you walk out there.
I know.
I'm
When
sorry, go on.
I was in California, I actually saw they had 2 different boxes. One was for used maps, to return used maps, but then we'd have to keep checking it and
Moving
fold
it
them
back
and
into
moving
the-
them back in, right? But it was just something that I happened to notice when at the park.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I
Yeah,
think.
I think that it was Muir Woods, and I think for them they were saying like we'll recycle these, don't just throw them away, we'll recycle them. Whether that means they were going to put them back or probably depends on how crumpled they are.
Right.
Somebody's pocket, they're just gonna.
I assume some people would know that exists and go to the recycled ones.
Oh, to pull them out. That's true.
Yeah.
It's California.
Right. Yeah. That's true. They're very responsible. They're learning.
I've also seen laminated maps where you borrow the map and when you're all done, you put it back in.
Oh, right.
And the map can get used 100 times before it's no longer any good.
Yep.
So,
That's right.
And you can put folds in them too.
Yeah.
You can,
Oh, right. Yeah.
so they fold, so
Mhm.
people can, instead of having to walk around the woods with a sheet of paper, they can get something that's small.
Yep. So the sign that's at Wildcat is an actual sign, right? That
Which
says to
sign?
return them, or is it painted on? You mentioned like painting
They-
it on.
I went up to drop some maps off at Wildcat, and they do have just a little, like, typed up thing. I'm pretty sure it was typed up.
Yeah.
It said, please return maps when done.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what the wording was, but I do remember seeing something and saying, because I was going to put something up, and I'm like, oh, they already did it, so.
You mean like in the kiosk behind the
It was
plastic?
on the kiosk, it's just kind of tacked up there.
like a letterbox.
Oh, okay, so
Or, yeah, you just do a one line and just tape it right to the front of the map
Yeah.
box.
oh, okay.
I have little sheets of, for when I'm at the library and I laminate the top of the book, but it's like a stick-on. So I have sheets of that if you want. It's not really sheets, it's like the leftovers.
Okay.
And then what you can do is just put it between and it will keep, it's almost like laminating it.
Mm.
So I can give you some of those.
Okay. Okay.
And that way you can just type something, do it on big
Mhm.
print, and then stick it between two of those and tack it up. It'll keep it dry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to get something up so people will try to return it. So the maintenance was the big issue that we talked about at the Horse Hill meeting. So that will be to come.
So we have the plan or the project sheet that has to be filled out.
Right. Yes. Right. Yeah. When we get right to the point, there are some bridges that, I mean, Peter did a great job of going through all the bridges that need it, and some of them are in the future. You know, like at some point we're going to need to do this, so there have to be the ones that need it sooner. We'll do
It's certainly, if he's planning on attacking those
before
a
winter.
couple, a couple of them at once. I mean, there's no need to fill it. If he's got them itemized, just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we can put all the bill of material on one sheet, and he can just attach that to the back of it. You know, he doesn't need to fill out a new form for every bridge.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's no. I don't feel the need to do that. There's no need to make a nightmare of paperwork.
And especially now that we have the map
Yeah.
with all the bridges
Mm-hmm.
on it,
Mm-hmm.
circle, 5 pieces of decking. Circle
Oh,
7
okay.
pieces of decking.
Each one, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not trying to do this we're trying to keep track of what we're spending money on, so we have some idea of what things cost and where they're going, and again, just what projects and when they were done. You know, we look, oh yeah, wasn't that 2 years ago? I don't think it was 3. You know, it's
Hey Sharon, when was that?
yeah.
Boom.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good that we can get it through. So that's about it.
Good. Thank you.
So, thanks.
I don't have anything for Grader.
We still need,
Because we failed horribly.
just
Our workday fell apart.
still need that mailbox for BB.
I don't have it.
You don't have one? So we have to get one,
What do you just
or? There's no place to put maps in the BB kiosk.
all right? We can go pick one up. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I like the vertical ones better than the horizontal ones because they seem to get less wet.
Yeah, smaller cover.
Yeah, there's a smaller part facing the weather, so they also seem to fit better on the kiosks. You know, you can put them up on a post or something. But we can we can find something for that. And did we have anything from Wildcat? Sorry.
The Granite Memorial Bench is not, I haven't heard anything back from Rivet, and it hasn't been placed yet, obviously. The maps for the kiosk, I went and I put a bunch up, and I emailed the group and asked who wanted them, and I haven't heard back yet. Karen's been out of town, so things have been pretty quiet over there. The placement of the picnic bench by the detention pond, we had asked, you're laughing,
No, it was just funny when you said that was funny.
Oh, yeah.
We were supposed to put flags for where
Yep.
to dump the
Right.
gravel. The flags have not been placed yet, which is why you have not received any request.
Okay.
And I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the trail runoff erosion ditches for the water bars yet. I don't know if you guys know, or we have a meeting scheduled for Tuesday, November 14th, so I'll get an update then. Are you coming to that meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we trying to do that riprap and the picnic table at the same time? Delivery of stone, delivery of stone at the same time, or?
That would be a good thing to do. So it just requires, I mean, once he puts the flags there, then, we talked 1 cubic foot or something. Originally, they wanted 6.
1 yard.
I think 1 yard, cubic
1
yard.
yard, 1
Yeah.
cubic yard, 1 cubic
Yeah.
yard.
1 yard, yeah.
Do you need some flags?
I don't think so. I think he has
No.
flags.
Okay.
No, it's just got lost.
All right,
Yeah.
so I have some on my
They-
trunk.
Yeah, the subcommittee's been a little, I don't know, kind of just dangling for the last few months, so.
Yeah. Well, it's tough in the summer and then getting back into it. It's always
Yeah.
tough to get people kind of roped back into
Yeah.
the routine, so.
Well, and I think too, we have 3 months in between the meetings, so that's a long time.
Well, we were meeting every month and then took a break, so.
So maybe we go back to every month.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll whip them into shape.
Yeah. Whip a volunteer, see how quickly they want to volunteer again.
Yeah, I know, right?
I will. It's a really great group.
I
It's
think
just,
so, yeah.
you know, with after my first meeting, I've been kind of careful not to, I'm trying not to overstep, so. Anyway, so that's that.
All right, thank you.
I did have one thing, sorry, I forgot. In the Spalding Foundation, the question was asked if DPW could help with removing brush from the inside. I guess there's a lot of brush down in there.
Yeah.
You think that's something DPW could help with? I mean, I asked, it's not gonna, damage or take any of the plants that we think were in there, and they said no. Wow.
No,
I would.
No.
is the answer.
I would be.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if they would really commit a crew.
If
to
they
come
would
over
do
there.
anything, okay. Okay.
I mean, they may be willing to come out and pick up the brush if we haul it to a pile somewhere.
Okay, but they won't.
But I don't think they're going to commit a crew to go in there and cut
Mhm.
out the foundation. They're going
No.
to say that's always our job.
Yeah, Ernie's gone, been gone for a while. They had Ernie Buck
Ernie
used to
Buck.
help manage
Oh.
that property with us.
Oh, okay.
And he had education in that area and all that stuff, so, and he had a love for doing that stuff, so.
Oh, okay.
He'll make it happen, but.
I miss him.
There are no more Ernies
Yeah,
in town.
there are no more Ernies anywhere. No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He was the one and only.
Yeah, so, it is what it is now, so.
Yeah, if he was around, I wouldn't have to be going back into Mitchell Woods all the time. And
Nope.
No.
take care of the- All right. All right. Want to go on to the minutes?
No? No minutes?
I did. I
I make a
don't,
motion to approve the minutes with Gina's adjustments.
second. I'm so glad Gina's here. I'm like falling asleep. I'm like, oh, Gina, I'll read it. No.
It's like the only thing I know how to do.
Did you find much?
Well, me too, but I'm
I found a few things.
falling
not a
down
lot.
on my
Although I
job.
did find something that I was supposed to do and didn't do, so
I found something.
we'll get
Oh.
to that in the commissioner comments. All right. On page 3, line 6, should be amended to reflect the use of hay, but shouldn't that be to reflect the use of straw?
Oh.
It was noted. Oh, it doesn't even say who said that.
Yes.
And then on page 5,
Great catch, Gina.
Yeah.
line 37, there's a few things that have been sticking with me in the straw versus hay. Okay, so line 37, commented that would still not address any sentiment, should that be sediment?
Yep.
And potential contaminants, so sediment. And then, on page 8, line 26, about halfway in, which is the company that will construct, it should be A-N-D, not an. That's all I have.
I have something.
All right, Mike. Mike's all excited. So excited.
Page 7. Line 21 through 23. Commissioner Boisvert commented supposedly the highlands of the Scalar property is a potential eagle nesting habitat. He also noted Matt Kasparius, Director of Parks and Recs, has expressed an interest in ball fields on the property. I think I was misinterpreted there.
Yeah, I was like, well, I didn't remember ball fields in that, but, okay.
I think I just commented that Parks and Rec was interested in ball fields. So if we could strike that,
Well,
that,
okay.
No, strike that sentence from he's also noted Matt Kasparis, Director of Parks and Recs, has expressed an interest in ball fields on the property. He has no interest in ball fields on the Scalar property.
We can clarify that,
All right.
but if this is,
Yeah, all right.
if this is what was said, then she's typing down what was said, so we
Okay,
can.
so we'll just get rid of on the property.
There's no place to put ball fields
There's,
there
yeah,
anyway.
and there's,
I thought you said that he had an interest in the property,
yeah, I
the
was, yeah,
Sklar property, because we were putting a whole committee together.
right.
Yeah,
Includes
right.
that.
Yeah, that could
So
have been.
I just think the
In the-
word in ball fields should be, just, those three words should be
Should be,
removed.
yeah,
Okay.
should be stricken, but if that's, if that's what
All
we
right,
said.
let's
so
do that. Let's get rid of
Expressed an interest in the property,
in the
period.
property.
Yeah, in the
Get rid
ball
of-
fields,
Get rid of ball fields on.
Yes.
yeah. That probably hopefully was not really what was said.
Yeah, I thought I remembered you saying that he was more interested in properties that could have ball fields.
Or something,
Correct,
it's
you're
something more along that lines, yeah, so.
Yeah.
We just need, I guess, a little clarification on what was said, but there's no way to put ball fields on that
Right,
property.
Yeah.
but I didn't think he had an interest in the property at all.
Yeah.
And I don't,
No, no,
okay.
yeah, it's different.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't, the only thing I don't remember is on the same page, line 34 to 35, I don't remember commenting on it being deer archery season.
I might have
Maybe
said
I
that.
did.
I might have said that. I remember talking about that.
So it should be you instead?
Maybe. I'd have to go back and look at it, and I
Doesn't
never
say
go
you,
back and look at
doesn't
them.
say you said that.
Commissioner Boisvert commented on it being deer archery season.
Oh. Okay, sorry, I was reading it.
Something, yeah.
I don't know. That's not a big deal
We
anyway.
can ask Dawn to review that and see if, who said that,
Yeah,
if anyone.
doesn't matter. That doesn't really matter anyway.
Because it is archery season, so.
It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
That's
So
muzzleloader
maybe
season.
I might have said that.
Doesn't that start in a week or so?
No, muzzleloader
Was-
season
is
is
now?
now, because I was gonna go to Horse Hill, and then I'm like, oh no, it's muzzleloader season, I'm not going.
Okay, is that it, Mike?
It's about to get worse.
Does anyone else have any other comments or questions, corrections? No. Okay, seeing none, I will, we've already got a motion to approve the minutes as amended, so all those in favor? Aye. Passes 6-0-0, and you're gonna abstain? And Jackie abstaining. 6-0-0-1. 6-0-1, yeah, sorry. Okay. Going into public comments, seeing none, we can go right into commissioner comments. Cindy, anything? Nothing? No, I just was curious. If this is time to pipe up if you want. Just tell us about your new
Now that I
mouse.
have a
maybe.
microphone back. I sent him to fix it.
He's got it just at the end, too.
Yeah.
I told you.
You got to think, Matt.
Matt told me to do it.
Actually do have a
I thought it was the injured mouse that had healed.
miraculously grew back 2 legs.
The legs aren't gone. They're paralyzed.
Okay.
I actually do have important, I guess, comment, and that's I really want to thank all of the volunteers that cleaned up all of the trails. because we had a pretty good storm and a lot of things down, and a lot of people stepped up and went out and did a lot of work over the last week. But all the trails are pretty much clear. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You good?
That's it.
All right. Tim, anything?
I have my magazine that I know I won't get to read in the near term. Does someone want to borrow this and return it when they're done?
And we do have another copy too, so.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Beyond that, was there anything notable about the conference this year? Something different? Something you all liked or didn't like?
I think I made a couple of comments during the meeting, and I just noticed that both the Department of Environmental Services and Fish and Game, both commented that they were shorthanded, and so really need to do our own policing, not do our own policing, no, but just to keep in mind that they're busy and but their phones are always open to let them know if we have any problems and all that, and yep.
The only other thing I have is Wendy and I have been discussing the website through
Okay.
email. Wendy's been a little behind because of some other things, the storm also being part of it. She was without power for an extended period. But she has a list of some things to do to improve the website. She's going to give us videos, or give me videos, on how to update the galleries so we can start moving some of the pictures we've been receiving into the galleries. I apologize to people who have submitted pictures and don't see them up. It's just, we're a little behind on that, so our website is not being neglected on deliberately. It's just a bunch of different things that have all added up,
Right.
okay, that's it.
Jackie, anything?
Oh, I can't think of anything that you wouldn't know about already.
Hey, Gina?
I do apologize because when I was reading through the minutes, I realized I was supposed to forward the press release to Sharon and ask her to have it published, so I will do that now.
Okay.
So the other thing too was the NHACC meeting was awesome. I learned a lot. I took the kind of the beginner course on conservation commissions, so I learned a lot there. I took the grant class. That was interesting because everybody is, now that ARM is coming back up, everybody's like, I'm applying for that. I'm like, oh, so we're going to have much competition for that this year. But the person that was Mr. Davis, who was teaching the class, he is a grant writer. And once you've taken the class, he posted his email and said if you need any help, so he made it seem a lot more doable, which is nice. Basically, he says you print out the directions. If you follow the directions, you're doing good. He says most of the time they're thrown out because people don't follow the directions. So you follow them right down to, to the letter. So that's good. So, we'll start working on that. Other than that, the last class that I took was with Jeff from Moosewood. I thought it was going to be a little more social media-ish, but it was more on connecting, what conservation was all about and how it connects. So it was a really interesting class, but it wasn't exactly what I thought that it was going to be. So, but it was interesting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going again next year. It was good. Thank you.
Mike? Anything?
All set.
Good. Just one quick thing, obviously everyone out there, it is hunting season, so make sure you're wearing your orange blades when you're out there, or jingle bells, or whatever you do to make yourself not look like an animal or sound like one. So.
One last thing then, because usually you put your feeders back out December 1st, but the bears are still awake, so I wouldn't put bird feeders out, you know.
No.
Check the weather before you put them out, December 1st.
No.
It was 60 degrees this morning, so,
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're gonna be awake for a while.
yes, Jack.
I do have something. We wanted a safe walk on Sunday and found a lovely one, and there's one in a safe walk, but
What does that stand for?
in the woods, huh?
What's that?
Oh, just to get out, but not to have to go into the woods in hunting season, and it's such a pretty time of the year. Over by the Amherst side of Babuzik Lake, there's a couple of roads off of Walnut Hill Road, and that are just dirt. And tell you the truth, we didn't encounter. We walked only about a mile one way and a mile the other. Not one car. So great for the dogs and people. But there's another walk in Merrimack too, Gage Girls Road. It has a little more traffic, but it's a nice dirt road that you can walk on without fear of hunters.
Is this an organized event, or is this
No.
just,
Oh, no, but you know, if people feel like I do, that I can't go in the woods in the fall safely,
okay,
it's a good solution.
great, thank you.
Yeah, I did get a couple of comments of, like you do every year, people hear gunfire in the morning, by Greater Woods. And I go for a walk, and neighbor goes, "They allow hunting out there?" I'm like, "Yeah, they allow hunting out there." So, just wear something, like you said, wear something bright.
Something noise, something made right, yeah. Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
My heart almost stopped. Those